news. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. The video is said to be taken over the weekend. Then suddenly the light shoots up into the sky. There you see it. Another video from a different angle appears to show the light doing the same thing. Those clips have gone viral now.
The world was surprised when people learned about Archangel Michael's presence in Jerusalem. It is very astonishing to behold a celestial person in front of your eyes. This amazing scene in South Carolina left Corey Harron breathless. We were also in no different condition. Jerusalem has gained attention due to the increasing worldwide crises and rising Middle East tensions. However, after tough times when humans are unable to take care of things themselves, God has now dispatched Archangel Michael to assist Israel through these difficult times. This manifestation of God is a ray of hope amid hardship, fortifying the resolve of God's people. What is the significance of this amazing event? What is the effect on Israel's circumstances? To find out, let's watch this video till the end. In recent months, the situation in Gaza has captured the attention of people all around the world. This problem has grown to be a major worry and is receiving attention from all across the world. There has been a rise in sympathy for the Palestinian people, bursting from major metropolises like New York and Rabat to cities like Madrid and Mexico City. Calls for justice and compassion have been echoed by nonviolent protests and rallies. Across Asia, this surge of togetherness was especially noticeable during the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Both players and spectators expressed their desire for a truce, calling for an end to bloodshed and the restoration of peace in the area. There has been a clear change in favor of the Palestinian cause among the bulk of international support. People are expressing sympathy and support for the Palestinian people's suffering everywhere they go. Despite the public opinion around these incidents, we cannot forget the basic intentions of the October 7th. It was a premeditated act of violence meant to destroy the Jewish people. Despite suffering persecution and dispersion for 2.5 millennia, God's protection over Israel is obvious. Despite intense attempts to eradicate them, the Israelites have survived throughout history. Numerous efforts to eliminate the Jewish people have failed time and time again, from the Babylonians to the violent anti-Jewish riots of the 19th century, and from attacks by Queen Isabella, and not to forget, the famous Hitler. The Jewish people have been protected throughout history, as seen by their persistence and survival, while many other nations have vanished. The nation of Israel has undergone an amazing revival in recent years. With the help of divine favor, the number of Jews in Israel has increased by an incredible 7,700% in barely a century, mostly as a result of large-scale Jewish immigration. Israel is now the center of attention for the problems of the modern world. Even with the intricate geopolitical relations in the unstable Middle East, spectacles such as the Friday congregation prayers in Baghdad, the capital of Iraq, demonstrate that God has never abandoned his promised land. Israel is fortunate to be God's chosen people and to have an angelic guardian named Michael. God created Michael, an archangel and a pure spirit, and he is a vital messenger to humanity. Reports from onlookers have revealed angelic images hovering over Israeli armored vehicles. This incredible spectacle not only galvanized Israeli forces, but also made their Arab opponents fearful. Many see this as a shield from God, an indication of God's intervention to protect Israel during a crucial time. The Israeli people's persistence is highlighted by this remarkable incident. This episode highlights the complex nature of geopolitical connections in the Middle East during this turbulent time, despite difficult conditions. To know God's favoritism towards Israel, we will have to learn a little history of this place. 5 Arab armies, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, initiated an assault on Israel in May 1948, just after its founding. Arab regimes saw Israel as essentially vulnerable and thought victory would come quickly. However, the Jewish forces humiliated the Arab armies with their power and unwavering commitment. It is imperative to recognize that Israel's resilience and fortitude were probably the result of divine intervention. Israel was invaded by Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and eventually Iraq in the 1967 Six-Day War to erase it off the map. Israel launched a preemptive strike intended to destroy the despite having a substantial numerical deficit in armor, planes, and soldiers. In the real world, Israel won the war and gained control of areas including the West Bank, Gaza, the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, and, for the first time in 2,500 years, the whole city of Jerusalem. This result emphasizes Israel's strength and tenacity and the favor and protection that God has given them. The 1948 Arab forces' rapid defeat, despite overwhelming odds, was partly ascribed to a lack of cooperation among Arab republics. The loss is also seen by Bible scholars as a divine setup for Christ's millennial reign from Jerusalem. On Yom Kippur, the most holy day in the Jewish calendar, in October 1973, a concerted offensive against Israel was started by forces from Egypt and Syria. Yom Kippur is a day for introspection, fasting, prayer, and relaxation. The Egyptian army benefited from the surprise strike, which occurred while Israel was at peace. Despite severe losses, Israel won again, demonstrating divine intervention, with immediate support from the U.S. Israel and ISIS were kept apart in early December 2016 by a strange storm cloud made of rain and dust. According to reports, the storm was unable to cross into Israel's Golan Heights and ended near the Syrian border. Many believe that Israel was shielded from ISIS by God. A future known as Gog and Magog may demonstrate that God continues to protect Israel. These instances demonstrate how God supports Israel even when they are unprepared for an attack. But occasionally, specific conditions must be satisfied for God's assistance. When Israel disobeyed God in the past, they suffered hardships and were forced to leave their homeland for 2,500 years. The majority of Israelis now do not believe in Jesus. As the Bible states, this could result in more difficult times. There are many tales in Israel's history of them rising above impossibly difficult obstacles to triumph. It's difficult to downplay God's assistance in these triumphs. Given the Archangel Michael's role in Israel's victories, we must ask how and when God sent him to guard Israel. An influential character in religious beliefs, particularly in Christian traditions, is the Archangel Michael. His name, which translates to "who is like God," conveys both his might and his status as God's servant. The book of Daniel has the earliest known mention of him. The prophet Daniel describes seeing a celestial being in this book. This entity is subsequently identified as the Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel describes the spiritual opposition he encountered when attempting to convince Cyrus, the ruler of Persia, to allow the Jewish people to return to Israel. One of the stories concerning a spiritual is in the book of Daniel. For 21 days, the prince of the country of Persia opposes the Archangel Gabriel's attempts to send a message. Michael, another significant figure, assists Gabriel at this critical juncture. The word angel is sometimes used in translations in place of prince, indicating that this is a spiritual. Gabriel approaches Michael for assistance after realizing he cannot prevail on his own. This demonstrates the need for cooperation in spiritual. Michael reappears in a vision regarding the end of the world later in the book of Daniel. In this instance, Michael is shown as Israel's defender, keeping them safe from their enemies. For the first time, Michael's role as Israel's protector is stated clearly. The Old Testament doesn't contain another mention of Michael, although St. Jude's letter does make mention of him. Michael refers in this letter to an incident in which there was a disagreement over Moses' corpse following his death. In Jewish tradition, Michael is regarded as Moses' bodily guardian. The Bible's most famous mention of Michael is found in the book of Revelation. In this image, he is seen commanding an army from heaven and battling a formidable dragon on earth. This shows Michael to be a formidable fighter and leader in spiritual conflicts. As a powerful warrior, he is shown as destroying Satan and permanently expelling the evil snake from heaven. These verses make clear Michael's function as a warrior and guardian who can get over spiritual enemies and keep us secure. But Michael's duty is not limited to opposing Satan. He has shielded God's people, particularly the Jewish people, throughout history. He is viewed as the defender of every sincere soul engaged in combat with evil. According to Scripture, he is the child of Israel's unique guardian, offering consolation and safety throughout difficult times. The prophet Daniel's prayers highlight Michael's presence when the Jewish people return from their captivity in Persia. As demonstrated in the tale of Judas Maccabeus, he guides brave fighters to victory in combat. Saint Michael has been honored as the patron saint of the Church since Jesus Christ established it, signifying fortitude and defense. The Church invokes Saint Michael's name in her prayers as her unique patron and defender, asking for his direction and guardianship, particularly in times of confession and at the hour of death. Saint Michael is said to guide souls on their spiritual path by accompanying them from purgatory to the heavenly light realms. The prophecy states that Saint Michael will raise the cross once more to represent his unwavering defense of God's people against all evil when the Antichrist establishes his rule on earth. This prophecy gives believers comfort in knowing that the mighty Prince Michael will return to defend God's children during those terrible times. And we need it too. Pope Gregory the Great described a vision of Saint Michael sheathing his flaming sword during a plague that struck Rome in the 6th century, signifying the end of the terrible disease that struck the city. A church was erected in 600 AD as a mark of appreciation for Saint Michael's assistance. There are many historical reports of people having contact with Saint Michael, but it might be difficult to confirm their credibility. During her exploits in the 100 Years' Joan of Arc claimed to have received heavenly instruction and encouragement from Saint Michael. This interaction stands out among the others. At the age of 13, Joan of Arc, a young French peasant girl, claimed to have received heavenly counsel from Archangel Michael. She reported hearing and seeing the voices of saints, such as Saint Margaret, Saint Catherine of Alexandria, and Saint Michael, in her visions. Joan thought that God had sent these celestial beings to help her in her support of the Dauphin's legitimate claim to the French throne, the future King Charles VII. Joan saw a lot of Archangel Michael in her dreams. He was a dazzling armored figure with a sword and a banner. He urged and counseled her to raise the siege of Orléans, a crucial turning point in the 100 Years' War, and to command the French army against the English occupants. The French troops were motivated by Joan's conviction and trust in her divine mission, which galvanized support and helped them achieve numerous significant victories. Her victories, which included the lifting of the siege of Orléans and Charles VII's crowning at Reims, had a big influence on how the war turned out. Joan's bravery and leadership encouraged her soldiers and changed the direction of the war, highlighting the significant importance of Archangel Michael's protection and guidance throughout history. Not just Joan of Arc, but Juana Lopez, a little child, is believed to have seen Archangel Michael appear in Chan, Ecuador in 1822 as she was fetching water from a well. Local legend has it that Archangel Michael made his appearance to her, working miracles and delivering spiritually significant messages. The local community was greatly impacted by this unbelievable tale, which led to a strong devotion to the Archangel. As a result, the Chapel of Archangel Michael was constructed at the location of the apparition in Michael's honor. It soon became a popular destination for Christians traveling in search of heavenly favors and intercession. With time, Archangel Michael's devotion grew not only in Chan, but also throughout Ecuador and its surrounding nations. The Chapel of Archangel Michael in Chan is still a popular destination for tourists and a significant place of worship for those who hold the Archangel's intervention to be supernatural. Many accounts of Archangel Michael's intervention, such as those related to the Battle of Lechfeld, Pope Leo XII's vision, the apparition at Monte Gargano, and other events, confirm that he has shown up outside of Israel to provide encouragement and help. These narratives provide historical validation for the existence of divine intervention. Many people believe in angels, viewing them as God's messengers sent for certain tasks. Some people say they have had direct experiences with angels, but others might not be aware of these kinds of connections. Nevertheless, God gives his angels orders to watch over and defend us in every way, providing consolation, direction, and hope. Angels are thought to be there to protect us from harm and to make sure we are okay. They are entrusted with the responsibility of protecting us, having been identified by God as the faithful spirits closest to him. In the Psalms, it is said, "I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared." This assurance of safety is repeated. The Israelites were given direction and safety on their way to the promised land of Canaan by this promise. It's important to remember that the angels described in the Bible are representations of Christ, not just any old beings. Angels are dispatched in the Old Testament to guard us and help us completely inherit God's kingdom. According to the Bible, angels are God's servants who carry out his will and strive for our ultimate welfare. According to Hebrews, angels are sent as ministering spirits to assist people who will be saved by faith in Jesus Christ. Angels are an important part of God's plan for our redemption because they help to save us from the effects of sin. The psalmist acknowledges the angels who dutifully carry out God's instructions and intercede on his behalf to safeguard and assist his people, while also praising God's great majesty and worldwide reign. The Bible even counsels us to extend kindness and hospitality to strangers, since some have unwittingly hosted divine messengers. Angels are strong beings who exalt the Lord surrounding his throne, in addition to serving as his defenders. Angels from all across the world surround him, praising and worshiping him without end. This shows that angels are more than just protectors. Even though Satan was the most exalted angel in heaven, he and one-third of the angels who followed him were banished because of their overwhelming arrogance and desire to be worshipped above God. These fallen angels stand in for the evil spiritual forces of today, who can easily pass like angels to trick us into dangerous situations and take our attention away from God. It is essential to live a conscious and discerned life to identify and counter the enemy's strategies. We have to continue to be on the lookout for false influences and committed to doing God's will. Even at the moments when we are blind to our needs or the approaching catastrophes, we can find solace in God's promise to help us through life's problems. God is in control and is at work, giving us protection, hope, and just and compassionate answers to our needs. God wants us to live sensibly and with complete devotion to him, and he does this by drawing us nearer to himself. His interventions might take place behind the scenes or at unexpected periods, so they would not always be immediately apparent. God does, in fact, constantly intervene on our behalf, and we always need to be aware of the spiritual world that surrounds us. May God give us the ability to see clearly so that we can sense the angel's presence among us and see the constant wonders he works even now. God's presence can offer consolation, protection, and direction to his people, whether it is made evident in angelic form or through supernatural action. Israel may overcome obstacles with faith and resiliency by recognizing and seeking his presence and finding strength and assurance in his promises. Many believe that the angel described in Exodus 33:19 is a representation of God appearing in angelic form. Speaking in God's name and announcing deeds of kindness and compassion, this angel exalts God. The Lord and the angel of God are recognized as being with the children of Israel. Because God's actual name is within him, this angel is different from other angels. He is the only one with the authority to pardon sins, a power that only God possesses. The Israelites were personally led by the angel of the Lord during their whole journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. This angel's presence in a magnificent cloud adds credence to the theory that he is the angel of the Lord, a figure that many Christians identify as Jesus Christ, coming in pre-incarnate form in later history. God revealed himself as a visible, luminous cloud in the Old Testament, signifying his majesty. A cloud and a pillar of fire led Israel. According to the New Testament, Jesus Christ frequently traveled with a cloud like this. According to Revelation 17, Jesus will appear in clouds that everyone will be able to see, including the ones who pierced him. Now, what do you think of the appearance of Archangel Michael in Jerusalem? Share with us in the comments section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more such content.